other real estate related assets, there's asset-backed securities. And this is the era of tokenization. So today, you convert your assets into units, convert the units into tokens, and sell the tokens, and then create, but I always tell people, as a real estate person, I always tell people that at the end of the day, real estate will remain the most significant asset. You want to ask me why? Because everything happens on the land. Everything else happens on the land. You build churches on land, you build factories on land, you build offices, you build hotels, everything happens on land. That's why real estate will remain the greatest asset. We speak of cloud computing. And I tell them that even the cloud lives on the ground inside data centers, real estate. And people talk about metaverse today, and I was discussing at the program last week. Yeah, we can talk of metaverse. But do you know that if you do anything in metaverse, you can go to the office in metaverse, you can do your transaction, you can have wedding in metaverse, But when you do everything, you still come back to live and sleep in a physical house, real estate. So whatever you do, real estate remains the significant differentiator in any economy. And any government that is serious all over the world, you want to turn around your economy, just pay attention to real estate. The reason is simple. Once you start a real estate project, it begins to create job immediately. You don't have to wait. In fact, before you move to site, you have to engage an architect, you're already creating job, you engage other consultants, and by the time you move to your site, immediately a whole economy develops. Food sellers, drink sellers, these are the critical drivers of the economy. So any government that understands the power of real estate will pay attention to real estate. Now, I have all this in my presentation, so just to take you through very briefly, what is the real estate versus other investment asset classes? The thing about real estate is that real estate requires a lot of money. In fact, for most people, the single largest investment you will make in your lifetime is your real estate investment. The single largest investment you will make is your real estate investment. So you have to pay attention to it. And I know that many of us, we are agents, we are brokers, we are realtors. When you advise your clients, you have to do it consciously, letting them understand the significance of doing real estate in accordance with due process. Because you can easily burn your fingers. And the worst thing that can happen to an agent is to burn your client's money. When you burn your client's money, you are in serious trouble. So you don't want to end up in EFCC or DSS or whatever. Make sure that you pay attention to the rules and don't just, so that's real estate, typically of bigger size, holding period. We speak of asset conversion cycle. That's from the time you put the money and from the time you make money. And because of the challenges in this country, you buy land, you deal with homeowners, you deal with land grabbers, you deal with government, various agencies, you deal with contractors, with suppliers, you import your electrical materials are stuck at the port. It will take time before you finish, So the asset conversion cycle here is always longer. Typically it's 24 to 48 months, particularly when you are doing a development. So it's a challenge. And then, but with stocks, you can buy stocks today and sell tomorrow. You can buy stocks today and sell next week. Once you just watch, just tell your stockbroker, sell. Complexity of transfer mechanism. For real estate, there's a complex process. So there's a contract of sale, there's deed of assignment, and after deed of assignment, you have to perfect your title. 3 things you must do to perfect your title. You must do governor's consent, you must do registration, you must do stamping. And you as agents, it's important to always advise your clients, because you know a lot of clients, they're happy to buy the land, but they are slow when you ask them to perfect their title. Two things must always tell them. Number one, in Nigeria, we're a common law country. So possession is very critical because the law says possession is 9/10 of the law. So once you buy land, take possession. The law says once you are in possession, you have 90% of ownership. But many people, they will just buy land and then they will japa. You know, they will japa and leave the land in the bush. Then one day, after 5 or 6 years, they will just come back during Christmas. They will now go to the place where they bought the land. They will now, everywhere is developed. You can't even identify where your land is. So it's important you take possession. Exercise your right of ownership on the land before you leave. You can do fence. You just put at least something that will tell the whole world that somebody has already laid claim to this land. So that when the money sells to somebody, when the buyer gets there, if it's somebody sensible, if you get to a land and you see fence, you ask the money this fence, did it grow from the ground? You know, I'll tell you my personal, one of the things I will advise is that when you want to buy land, when you want to start your due diligence, one of the first things you must do is to undertake a physical visit to the land. You cannot just sit in your office, in your post office in Victoria Land, or Ikoyi, or in Ikeja, and then you just buy land. I mean, we have not reached that level. Maybe one day we'll get to the level of Rwanda, where every plot of land has been digitally mapped. And you can sit down in your office, you can see the mapping. But now you have to go there physically, And we always advise people that when you go there physically, one of the things you do is that you ask questions. You ask questions. So one day, sometime in 1999, I think, I was going to buy a plot of land at Medina Estate. Then I was living in Ikorodu. I was actually living in Bogo. I know you don't know all those areas, But my first house was in Bogo. So we are blowing small. So when we started blowing small, so okay, let's move from Ikorodu back to Lagos. So I was going to buy this plot of land in Medina Estate, in Bagada, By the way, at that time, a plot of land was 2 million naira, 1999. Can you guess how much a plot of land in that estate is today?
Over 120 million.
How much?
Over 120 million.
It's about 100 million. It's about 100 million. So just imagine, it's about 100 million. I know because I'm doing a transaction there now. So I wanted to buy this land in Medina Estate. And so I saw the advert in the Guardian. Those days, Guardian used to list properties. I don't know that they still do it now. Online has taken over, has retired all those people. So I went. The agent who advertised the property met my wife and I and my friend on the street, and then they showed us the land. The first thing is that the land was fenced and it has gates. And I was wondering, land that is fenced and has gates, So as the guy was showing us, was talking to us, I just walked out of the site and then I walked down the street. And I saw one guy who was wearing a shirt, who was walking. So I called him, I engaged him. I asked him that if he knew anything about that particular. I said that land, no. I said that land belongs to Mr. Chukwemeka or something. That the man is in the US. That he's not selling, In fact, he knows that he wants to build, So I saw red flag. So now I asked him that if you want to buy land in this estate, who do you see? He says Bayo. Bayo is the grandson of Alaja. If you see Bayo, that was how I abandoned the agent. I went to look for Bayo, and eventually I bought the land. Okay, it still had issues, but at least I bought the land, did the building, we moved, we bought another one on the same street. We did another project there in those days. So, your cap of due diligence must be exceptional. I tell people, if you bring a plot of land to me and everything is clean, I will not touch it. Take it from me. You will hardly find a plot of land that is 100% clean. If I haven't seen one, and trust me, I've done transactions, there's always something. So it is better at the time you're trying to do the deal, see what the problem is, and see whether you can resolve the problem. If you can resolve, you go ahead. If you cannot resolve, you pick your race and go. That is how to look at real estate. Your due diligence must be exceptional. Because when you do good due diligence, you are avoiding, it's like you are taking insurance against problems in the future. I need to move very quickly. Next slide. Next slide. So, what are the benefits of real estate investments? Number one, capital appreciation. There are some things I want you to learn from me this morning. Real estate is a total return business. So that when you are convincing your client, because when you are pitching real estate against other asset classes, people will tell you, in Nigeria, the yield is low, inflation is now 20%. How do you buy something that your yield is 12 or 30%? But you have to look at the total return. You look at the yield, and you look at your capital appreciation. But when you take a look at the yield and your capital appreciation, typically it is way above inflation. And it makes the investment to make sense. But if you are simply looking at the yield, you will not do any real estate business in this country. Rental yield, maybe the best rental yield you will get is 5 or 6%. Now, in an economy where interest rate is 2% or 3%, it makes sense. But when you have to borrow at 20-25%, you cannot do research. So there's capital appreciation. It can provide you income stream. You can use it for self-occupation. The beauty of real estate is that you can buy today, let. One day, when you want to live in the place, you chase out your tenant, you can live in the place. You cannot do that with stocks. And of course, it has its own tax advantages. Next slide, please. So, what are the demerits? What are the disadvantages of real estate investment? Disadvantages. High initial investment cost. There are a lot of legal issues. If you want to buy stock today, you don't need to bother about any legal issue. Just give money, just let them create a CSCS account for you. Let your stockbroker just be doing all the deal for you. But in real estate, you have to contend with all the legal issues. High cost of maintenance. Now, we went to bed one day and woke up, and diesel costs moved to, how much is diesel now? You know what I'm talking about? So you can imagine all the issues that we have in other estates. I pity facility managers these days, because every day you are engaging. Prices are going up. So high cost of maintenance is a disadvantage for real estate. Debt. You cannot do this business without borrowing. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, long-term capital are not available. If it's available, the cost is just too high. Additional expenses when you do real estate. Okay, so let's quickly take it forward. But we're here to talk about the prospect. There are problems, but we're talking about the prospect. So we're in a huge market. Huge market. People ask me every time, are you going to go and do business in Ghana or Kenya? I say no. I always tell them no. Housing shortage in Ghana is now 100,000. Housing shortage in Kenya is 2 million. Housing shortage in Maryland and Ikeja to Ojota alone, maybe it's like 1 million or even 2 million. So it's challenging to do business in Nigeria, but the debt is very, very great. Next slide, please. Now, there's always a lot of argument about whether there is housing deficit or not. People always argue, is there housing deficit? There's no deficit. I always give a simple example. If you want to know whether or not there's deficit, just look at demand over supply. This is a country where somebody will build 8 flats and 500 people will pay. You heard the story of the guy in Ketu. He built 8 flats. And he collected over 500 million naira from people. So what other evidence do you need that there's a shortage? You know, what other evidence do you need that there's a shortage? You know, look at this developer. He defrauded 279 people, house seekers. He built 4 flats, you know, and it happens every day. So there's huge deficit. And what I'd like to tell you is that in this industry, if you can come into this industry, you can create a niche for yourself. Integrity is the currency of this market. Integrity is the highest currency. You know, before COVID, I just started, just around late 2019, I just started a project. And just as I mobilized my contractor, COVID started. I know with COVID, we all thought that we'd be in the house for 1 week, 2 weeks. Then it became months, you know. I sold to many people off plan. You know, integrity. By the way, 80% of my buyers don't even know my sites. It's integrity. They just call me, oh, we hear you are doing this project, that money. They just buy. They just buy. They just buy. They just buy. You know. And then at the end of COVID, prices went haywire. When you already had an agreement, you know. So my solution was simple. If you comply with the terms of my payment, I will hold your price. But if you default by 1 day, you pay the new price. It's as simple as that. You know, so as a developer, when you are entering into those contracts, you have to be futuristic in your perspective. Anything can happen. I must give an allowance for those scenarios. You know, but I hear of developers who fleece their customers. They will pay today, but I can tell you they will not come back to me tomorrow. You know, if you want to remain in this business, the greatest currency is integrity. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, this talks about analysis. Next slide. You can look at this later. You know, analysis of the whatever. Okay, so let me talk about the outlook. Then I'll be rounding up. The first thing is that anytime you are talking real estate, you must always remember that real estate is tied to the economy. There's a strong nexus between real estate and so at any point in time. So if you are a player in this segment, and then in the morning CBN announced digital exchange of currency. In the evening, Minister of Finance says no, we didn't send it. The following morning, CBN governor says no. Under the CBN Act, I can do this. Is very bad for real estate. Very, very bad for real estate. Because real estate thrives in an atmosphere of certainty and stability. I can tell you that 2 days ago, if you have spoken to a customer who is about to pay, and all this thing happened, you will not pay again. You say, okay, don't worry. Let me think further about it. That's what happens. I'm telling you this because a lot of us players in this market, we don't pay attention to what happens in the economy. But you have to. What is happening to interest rates? What is happening to inflation? What is happening to cash? What is CBN saying? Every CBN meeting, you must monitor what is MPR. Because everything is factored off the back of MPR by the CBN. You have to pay attention. You must be knowledgeable. One of the things I want to leave with you is that you must be knowledgeable. You cannot just afford to, I'm a lawyer. But when I speak real estate, people ask me, are you an architect? I said, no. If you bring your design today, I'm not an architect, but at least I can interpret designs. Because I have to teach myself to a level that when you bring the design, I can say, okay, I know, what is this one doing here? And don't be shy to ask questions. But the question you ask today, you won't ask tomorrow, once you know it. But many of us are just posting for nothing. And it doesn't matter, you know. Just make sure that you pay particular. So everything, can you just go back? Everything thrives on the back of the economy. What is the disposable income? What is interest rates? And so on and so forth. Now, elections are coming. Typical elections will have both bad and good for real estate. You know, it's good because money will come out. People will make money. And a lot of people, when they make money, people are always waiting to blow so I can buy houses. So a lot of people will blow. So you must monitor those who will make money. Look at those segments where money will come from. This is the era, those in marketing communications, they will start to make money, those in advertisement and things like that. So this is time to be their friend. But elections can also be bad for real estate. Because number one, there will be too many parties in the market. So there are many politicians who will just flood the market and then prices will go down, and then if instability comes with the election, people don't buy property when things are unstable. Next slide, please. I'll just go through the various categories since I'm going to have this presentation. I've just tried, I'm an obedient servant. I've just tried to do what Shegun has asked me to do. So look at the various categories. So let me just talk you through residential. Residential, why will residential always sell in Nigeria? Because as of today, home ownership penetration is 25%. It means that there are still 75% of Nigerians who don't own homes. And I always say that I'm not interested in the 75%. Just give me 1% of 10%. I just create my market, and that is where I'm going to play. So home ownership is 25%. You can compare with Singapore, 90%, Romania, 96%, Cuba, 90%. So the low home ownership penetration is driving demand in the residential segment. The second thing is urbanization. We understand that 200,000 people move to the cities every day. 200,000 people move to the cities every day. So because people move to the cities every day, there will always be demand for homes. Young population. We understand that there are about 75 million people between ages 16 to 27. And these are the people who control economic power today. So when you are pitching your tent, you have to understand the direction of the economy and where everything is going. The luxury segment. The luxury segment will always sell. The reason is simple. Those who buy in that category, number one, they don't take bank loans. They already have their money. They have their first, second, maybe they're buying their third or fourth houses. So that segment will always thrive. The only thing is that because of the Ikoyi collapse, people will not trust up and coming developers. They will go back to the traditional Panda Alberto and all those people. So that's going to be a major problem in that category. But like I said, deals will continue, but customers will be more discerning. Premium and classic, which is where actually plays the premium and classic segment. This is a very tough segment because everybody is in this segment. It is a red ocean of real estate. Everybody is here, and they are making all manners of deals and concessions and things like that. I say that to survive in this category, your value proposition must be exceptional. You have to build a strong value proposition. People, you must understand what the customer wants. A lot of the time we just assume for the customer. And my experience is that a lot of the time, so there was a time that in this industry we had a categorization. So luxury, we say for luxury. This is what must be in luxury segment. Lawn tennis court, swimming pool, gym, premium, classic. But when I sat before customers, young customers, they say, see, I'm not looking for a swimming pool because my office, they've already paid for subscription at Ikoyi Club. If I want to swim, I'll go to Ikoyi Club. If I want to eat, I'll go to Metropolitan Club. In fact, that swimming pool is injurious to my young children. So what do I want? I want a crèche. I want a laundromat. I want a very robust children's playground. Not swimming pool, not that, Premium and classic I've already Next slide, please. Comfort homes. Next slide. You already have all this. Office, negative outlook, struggling. So by the time they deliver Mr. Lakija's property on Kingsway Road now, that's coming with 50,000 square meters. The GL already we had like almost 400,000 square meters that people were just killing. We are just wrestling tenants from each other because the economy is not growing. Retail is mixed. Industrial and logistics, very good. Hospitality, if you have patient capital, you can play in that segment. So you can take your time to look at the categories. Just let's go to the next slide. I just want to look at 2 slides and run. So where are the millions? Let's go. Okay. So I think that I brought this slide from a presentation I made recently. Where are the millions? Residential developments, commercial and retail, industrial warehouses, digitized assets, co-investing, lands, shops, indirect services, agency, outsource, sales and marketing. I mean, a lot of guys, I know a lot of you here, you're playing that outsource segment, consulting, next slide please. Then recently I saw this, okay, I did an analysis recently for Full Gospel, and I showed them where, I always look at opportunity footprints geographically. So number one, of course, is Lagos, Abuja, and I'll put my money on Ebonyi any day because of the massive amount of infrastructure. Ibadan, Oyo State, because the government has invested a lot in real estate reform. Those are going to be the drivers, And I saw this report earlier this year by Virtual Capitalists saying that of the top 20 cities in the world growing, 4 are from Nigeria. These are the kind of things that you should be looking at. That okay, you also know that in West Africa there are about 6 or 7 million cities with of over 1 million. 80% are in Nigeria. So that should tell you where to pitch your tent. Next slide, please. So, overcoming the challenges, I'm rounding up. What are the golden rules? Number 1, you must choose the right location. In real estate, we speak of location. Choose the right location. Location is critical. For me, the first 3 factors is location. Any other one, quality, price, they come after 1, 2, 3. Location. Number 2, I already spoke about return. Number 3, perfect your title. Perfect your client's title. Obtain necessary advice. Give your client the right title. When I spoke earlier in the year on trends for 2022, I said it's going to be the era of regulatory intensity. Regulation is going to be very, very intense. So, and there are 3 things you must do to perfect the title. Obtain governor's consent, do your registration, and pay necessary stamp duties. It is very, very critical. Then you know that you have a title. And by the way, it doesn't mean that when you perfect the title, there will be no problem. There might still be the problem. But when you have a good title in your hand. And I always advise people, when dispute happens, don't be the plaintiff. You know what that means? Do everything that you need to do to remain on the land. Be the defendant. Don't be the plaintiff. Let him be the one that will go to court. Be the defendant. So if you have to fight, you fight. If you have to do, you do. Anything you need to do. Just be where you need to be. Comply with the regulations. Zoning. When you are buying land, the first thing you want to do is, what is the approval order for this area? I've advised several people. I was advised some people, Southwest Ikoyi. The approval order says this is low to medium residential. The only commercial activity allowable here is pharmacy. So if you go there, you can build a bank and run your bank. But one day, a king, a new Pharaoh may come that will not know Joseph. And then what will happen? The problem will just happen. Let me go to the last slide. Then I'll round up. Go to the last slide. So, how do you win? What are the imperatives for winning? Number one, you must position yourself properly. Your positioning is critical. You know, I'm a very strong student of strategy. So you need to have a positioning. Even if you're an agent, you need to have a positioning. You need to choose your client. You need to always review where you are. Set targets for yourself. Don't just be running around. There's a lot of people, they just run around. So when some people come to my office and they send me a message on LinkedIn that they want to be agents, by the time you ask them one or two questions, that this one cannot be agent for anything. Position yourself properly. Your financing is critical. Real estate is a financing game. It doesn't matter how beautiful your strategy is in your head. It doesn't matter how beautiful your design is. If there's no money, you're just deceiving yourself. So your finance, your funding source must be critical. Don't go and build. I had an experience of somebody who went to build a 7-star estate in a 3-star neighborhood. You have finished yourself. You know, when they build a 7-star estate in a 3-star neighborhood, putting cinema and all those things. You know. So the bank foreclosed, and when we bought him out, bought everybody out. The first thing I did was to reduce the spec. All those places that he built as cinema, I converted them to 1 and 2 bedroom flats. We sold. You know, so be careful of your financing strategy. Your portfolio, you must master the development process. Real estate is about development. You have to create assets. You must master the process. As I have been explaining. Your strategy must be market-led. You must focus on growth areas. Today, what are the growth areas? Mid-market housing, micro apartment, student hostel. People used to tell me that Nigerians don't like small apartments. It's a lie. I have demonstrated the concept. When I started my business, I said I want to build only studios, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. And then I looked at the typical size of studios all over the world. I said, okay, Nigerians will not like this type of small studios. So I built studios, 35 square meters. 1 bedroom, 60 square meters. 2 bedroom, 80 square meters. Proof of concept, sold out. I'm commissioning in the next few weeks, you know. Because today, there are people who are ready to trade size for proximity. I always give example. Young people, you know, they want to go to Quillox. How many of us know Quillox? They want to go to Quillox, close by 1 a.m. and get to their houses within 20 minutes. But they're not looking for they're not looking for mansions. They're looking for comfortable, well-built, well-designed, with basic amenities. You know. Integrity, networking. So you have come to this event now. Make sure that you network. In the industry, you must network. You must know people. I always laugh at developers who don't have the network. You are building somewhere. You must know the dialect. You must know your moniles. If anything happens, you must know who to call. You must know the GPO. It's not until something happens that you will now go and start to introduce yourself to the GPO. You know the way things go. Otherwise, they will just serve you breakfast. And you'll just be looking like that. I'm talking about integrity. Finally, you need to have a winning mentality. See, real estate is not a business for the lily liver. It's a business, you have to be tough yourself, you know. And as long as you do that, and with God on your side, you will always win. Thank you very much.